We are coming for you. We are dead because of you, Eric.
Damn, it's cold. Cold that completely envelopes me, piercing my skin and clenching to my joints. With my arms wrapped tightly around my chest, shivering because I still do not want to accept that it's pointless. Every time I take a breath, little clouds of steam leave my mouth and fog up the small window of the cockpit. Just thinking that it is much colder behind the glass in the emptiness of space than it is here seems almost absurd. For hours the power indicator light has been flashing and the bar showing the battery power is getting lower and lower. That is why I switched off the heating. In my situation, electricity has only one life. Even if I'm not buying time and delaying the inevitable, I had the choice between death by suffocation or freezing to death. I chose to freeze to death. But now I am no longer sure if that was a good idea. The stars that indifferently pierce the blackness of space are probably the last thing I will see. However, if I'm to die, then the sight of infinity is probably the best thing that can happen to a person. I think to myself as the battery indicator bar begins to drop another level with a warning sound. Closing my eyes, I breathe deeply and calmly. In and out. In and out. Then a cracking sound enters my consciousness, barely perceptible but threatening enough to shake me out of my lethargy. Where was that noise coming from? I look around. Everything is as it was. The ship is dying. Almost all the instruments switched off. Death haunting the dark corridors, slowly but persistently forcing its way through the ship's bulkheads. I take a look out of the icy window. Our destination shimmers below me, the content of all our dreams, the reason we embarked on this journey, the Titan. It lay before me, bathed in soft green, surrounded by radiant bands of cloud teasing me, because Saturn's moon doesn't like visitors. At least that's how it seems, because it only brought us death. The planet shattered all the hopes that brought us here, shattering them into thousands of tiny splinters and turning them into our doom. Anger rises in me as I look at the planet orbiting indifferently around Saturn. I actually did it. I set my feet on the muddy ground of Titan, and yes, it was indescribable. My pulse raced with excitement. I was the first human to leave my mark on this strange soil. I often asked myself what it felt like for Neil Armstrong when he jumped from the ladder of the craft Eagle into the dust of our moon in July 1969. My question was answered here on Titan. My brittle lips barely manage a faint smile. One small step for me, one giant leap for him. Yeah, my ass. Am I a hero now? I was on Titan. Will they build me a monument? How does it benefit me? What do I gain from fame if it costs me my life? Of course, we were all aware of the risk. The list of things that could go wrong was endless, but when the time comes, when your crew loses their lives in front of your eyes and you yourself end up facing death, that's a completely different story. I am the only one who could leave the surface of the Titan again, but can you call me lucky if this ship becomes my icy grave? Is it really better to meet my end here in the cold of my spaceship instead of on Titan itself? I am tired, simply too tired for my body to continue shivering from the cold. I'll probably be dead by the time the battery dies. What the hell? I won't be alone anymore. I'll see my crew again. The only problem is, I really don't know if they are all dead. I saw Grace Clark and Wolfgang Lange fall into a crevasse, swallowed up by a strange darkness. For some time we were busy taking soil samples. I can't remember how long, and I'm too tired to check the record. We kept feeling a slight trembling of the ground. Clearly there was seismic activity. Why didn't I abort? Why didn't we just leave? Looking back, that would have been the only right decision. But I didn't do it. Was it ambition? My damn ego? I still remember how I wanted to get back on the ship. Wolfgang Lange, our geologist, wanted to stay here at all costs. He was too dazzled by this strange world. I must admit that we all were. It's my fault, my responsibility. I should have told the German geologist to get his damn ass into the module. End of debate. Then the quake hit. We couldn't stay on our feet. The ground beneath my crew cracked and they fell. I managed to pull myself up using the rock, but by then the quake was over and my crew had disappeared. My crew's doctor, Masada Yoshida, stood a little to one side, looking at me as if in a trance as I pulled myself up using the rock. He didn't say a word, standing motionless as if nothing had happened. I desperately tried to reach the crew on the radio, but all I could hear was static. Then I called the technical officer who stayed behind on the ship. No answer. Exasperated, I looked back at the doctor and froze. Masaru Yoshida had climbed onto a cliff, shouted something in Japanese in panic, and plunged into a lake of liquid methane with his arms spread wide. He remained completely motionless as he sank, not flinching, not moving, simply not wanting to fight for his life. The question of why he did this has never left me. Were there any signs that I should have recognized? Why did he want to end his life here on Titan? I wonder how long it took for the methane to permeate his suit and drown him. Or did he first freeze to death? Methane is a gas that becomes a liquid only at temperatures as low as minus 162 degrees. The average surface temperature on Titan is minus 179 degrees. I can only hope that Masaru fell asleep peacefully. But what if the other two are still alive? What if they were miraculously not hurt? Did their suits still have enough oxygen? I squint my eyes to look at the clock. I could only blurrily make out the instruments, probably another stage of dying. No, it can't be. Their oxygen tanks must have been empty hours ago. I didn't leave because my oxygen supply was also running out. I stayed at the precipice as long as I could, endured the trembling of the ground caused by the earthquakes, fought down the fear that choked my throat, and stared unblinkingly into the depths. I waited, hoping to hear a familiar voice on the radio again. When I returned to the ship, Anwar, the technical officer, had disappeared. I searched the entire ship for him, but he was simply gone. However, his spacesuit was still here, so how could he have left the ship? I have no idea. The truth is, I am alone. That cracking sound again, but this time I could hear it coming from the radio system's loudspeaker, accompanied by a soft hiss.
Eric,
The voice barely sounds human, but I recognize it immediately as coming from Grace. I hear another roar.
Eric, we are coming for you.
A dull thud sounds. Something or someone is banging against the hatch. My name is Eric Finn Solberg, commander of the spaceship Astra Fortis, and this is my story.